Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like we have a lovely crowd. Let me open up the Planning and Zoning meeting for August 17th. Could you stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could the secretary please read the roll?
Chairwoman Spidell.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Chairman Richardson.
Present.
Secretary Grant.
Here.
Member Perez.
Here.
Member Rice. Member Aton.
Here.
Member Riley.
Here.
Alternate Member Faison.
Here.
Alternate Member Childs.
Here.
School Board Member Gilbert.
Here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a quorum. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
Motion to approve.
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
Thank you so much. Any discussion? Passed unanimously. I don't think I'm supposed to say that.
Roll call.
Oh, do I have to do that? Oh,
Yeah, we're trying to get out here fast.
we have a 22-minute limit. Somebody's put money on that, okay? I know that's tacky, but we can do that. Okay. Roll call, please.
Member Childs.
Yes.
Secretary Grant.
Yes.
Member Perez.
Yes.
Member Aton.
Yes.
Member Riley.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Richardson.
Yes.
Chairwoman Spidell.
Yes, ma'am. Could council read the rules of participation in the meeting and any quasi-judicial rules of participation, if appropriate?
All persons who anticipate speaking on any public hearing item must fill out an oath card to be heard on that agenda item and sign the oath contained thereon. These cards are located on the table near the entrance to the council chamber or may be obtained from the recording secretary. This meeting will be conducted in accordance to the procedures adopted in Resolution Number 24-1997. Those speaking in favor of a request will be heard first, those opposed will be heard second, and those who wish to make a public comment on the item will speak third. The applicant may make a brief rebuttal if necessary. A representative from either side, for or against, may cross-examine a witness. Anyone who speaks is considered a witness. If you have photographs, sketches, or documents that you desire for the commission to consider, they must be submitted into evidence and will be retained by the city. Please submit such exhibits to the recording secretary. Please be advised that the following board members, Linwood V. Rice and Thomas Perez, are dual members for Planning and Zoning Commission and the Titusville Environmental Commission, and these board members are permissible participants at each of the respective board meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. New business. Staff, please.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Good evening, Commissioners. Item 9A, Building Trade Services Ordinance, begins on page 9 of 35. Staff has identified a longstanding issue of approving BTRs for general contractors within the city. Based on these concerns, City Council approved advisability for staff to review and make recommendations regarding the expansion of Building Trade Services offices into the Planned Industrial Development PID zoning district. Building trade services, including construction, plumbing,
I'm going to stop you right
Sure.
there. We do have a mutual agreement that initials will be sparsely used.
Yes, ma'am. Which one did I miss?
There was a first one, BT something.
Okay, BTR, sorry about that. BTR is business tax receipt. It's the business license that a business needs to have to operate within the city. The other PID, I think, is spelled out, but if I miss any others, please stop me again.
Thank you, sir.
Building trade services, including construction, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. Can I get by with that one, or?
That's become common knowledge.
Landscaping, well drilling, and similar services are permitted in some industrial districts, M1, M2, M3, and RMU 500. And some mixed-use districts, DMU, Midtown, and UMU. There have been multiple requests to consider permitting contractors' offices in the Community Commercial, CC, and Planned Industrial Development, PID, as well. The ordinance proposes the following changes. 1. Building trade services be permitted in the community commercial zoning district located with direct access to collector and arterial roadways. 2, building trade services be permitted in planned industrial development PID zoning. And 3, in the urban mixed use UMU zoning district, the requirement that expansions of an approved building trade services use existing prior to December 8th, 2009 be located on property owned by the owner of the business on or before December 8th, 2009 is deleted. That's a mouthful, and I can explain that later. It should be noted that in the CC, PID, and downtown mixed use and UMU zoning districts, no outdoor storage of materials, equipment, fabrication, or manufacturing is allowed. So that's the summary. I do also want to point the commission to page 17 of 35 of tonight's agenda. And that kind of has the summary of the changes that we're proposing, the language that's proposed to be inserted and the language that's proposed to be deleted. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
My first question, sir, is what prompted this revision?
So again, we've received a number of requests to locate contractors' offices, and there's also been discussion about that the building trade services is a use that's permitted in all of our industrial districts, but not in the PID. And so City Council gave us advisability to move forward with an ordinance with recommendations where other districts should we allow building trade services uses.
Does that mean a construction trailer could be put on a building site in the following zoning?
No, ma'am. So a building,
doesn't. Okay.
a trailer would be a temporary structure, and those are regulated separately. So this is just for, this would be like an office, but it's for a contractor's, contractor business.
So what would the office look like if it wasn't a trailer?
A brick and mortar facility.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Clerk, are there any cards on this issue?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioners, what questions do you have to staff? Ms. Riley?
Eddie, why did this come up now?
We just received advisability to make the change, and so we're bringing it forward.
Okay, but I mean, have there been a lot of, did you say there were a lot of contractors that wanted offices in these areas that couldn't do it?
Yes, ma'am. So we've received a number of requests to locate a contractor's office, and the code currently is limited in what districts they can be permitted in. So City Council gave us direction to move forward with an ordinance that at a minimum looked at allowing it in the PID. And we've also included the community commercial district where it would be permitted with limitations. And the limitation again is that there be no outdoor activity, no outdoor storage or equipment.
Can you give me an example of a location? I know you've listed what these zones are, but for those of us that don't memorize all that, give me an example of a location that this would apply to if a contractor wanted to put up an office there.
Sure. So since this could be permitted on, if we're speaking specifically to community commercial, I don't know if you wanted to focus on that zoning district or either that or
Sure,
the PID.
you can do that.
Okay, so with the community commercial, that would be most likely found along our arterials, which are Cheney Highway, Highway 50, and Garden Street, and US 1. Those are our three arterials. And then the collectors are some of the larger roads in town that you may think of, like Knox McRae or Hopkins. However, they would, not all of those properties are zoned CC. So it would have to kind of tick both of those boxes. It would have to have the zoning CC, community commercial, and it would also have to be located adjacent to one of those higher volume roadways.
Okay, so up to now, a contractor, unless he was already there, couldn't put an office on one of those?
Correct. They would have to be located only in the districts that they're currently permitted, which are in our industrial districts.
Okay.
And a lot of these uses don't have the impact that some of the industrial uses that are listed in our code may have as far as processing of materials. Like if you think, for example, of an HVAC contractor, they're receiving equipment, storing it on site until it's ready to be installed in a home. There's not a lot of manufacturing happening at that facility, but our code requires that they be located in an industrial industrially zoned property.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Member Richardson, please.
So do some of those activities along Hopkins, both close to the railroad on the west side and some on the east side, are they in compliance?
I'm not sure.
Because-
I'm not sure what the zoning is on some of those properties. I could look at the map.
Well, will this bring them into compliance?
If there are any contractors' offices currently in the CC zoning district on an arterial or collector roadway, yes, this would bring them
Well,
into compliance.
I'm thinking about Altman's Air.
I believe Altman specific, as a specific example, is zoned M1.
And D&E Pump.
Right.
Further
Well, I don't know
down.
about D&E, but for example, with if the property is zoned M1, then they are currently conforming. They are in a zoning district that allows it.
Okay. I don't have any problem with those areas on Hopkins at all.
I'd like to ask about the downtown area and this mess that is, this also caused some community business concerns where I don't know how to refer to the Cafe Chocolat, you know. How should I refer to that property? Cafe Chocolat,
I understand. I
former
don't-
site? Okay,
Sure.
okay, that's a mess.
So this ordinance doesn't, that property is in the downtown mixed-use zoning district, but in the downtown sub-district. This ordinance does not propose to allow this use in that zoning district, in that area. I think what you're describing is the general activity that's going on there as far as
I'm describing the mess.
the construction work.
Yes.
And so that's different than allowing the contractor's office to be located in community commercial.
I have no problem with contractors' offices, but I do the mess that they've made out there and the effect it has had on surrounding businesses. Surrounding business owners have come to council with great complaints about what's going on there. And nobody can, they blocked off roads, nobody knows who owns the roads. It's just like, it's a mess. You keep nodding your head, but this ordinance does not affect that.
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions from council? None? Do I have a motion on
You-
item? Excuse me, Mr. Anton.
You had said you were going to explain the deletion of that one kind of section.
So I wasn't here in 2009, so I don't know more about the background, but it sounds to me like what the staff and the council was trying to do at the time was to allow for the existing business, the existing building trade services uses located in the UMU zoning district to allow them to be non-conforming while still allowing them to expand. When a use becomes non-conforming, meaning the use is no longer permitted in the zoning district that it's located in, it can continue to function, it just cannot expand. In the language that was added in this code, it allows for these non-conforming uses to expand, but for that use to no longer be permissible in the zoning district. So basically, it locks it into only those properties that currently have that use, and so it kind of applies it unevenly. It says that the use is okay only if you had it before, and you can even expand it if you want to. However, if you wanted to allow that use in the zoning district as a brand new business, you could not do that. So the proposal is to remove that language just because it can be somewhat inconsistent as far as how it can be applied in that, let's say you have two identical properties, both have building trade services located on them, and the day after the adoption of the ordinance, including that language that we are proposing to strike tonight, if the following day the property owner sells their property, then they no longer have the right to maintain or establish that use. However, the other property owner, if they keep the property for another 20 years, maintain the permissibility of that use within that zoning district. And so you kind of create it's hard to control whether that use is permitted, how long it can remain. And so we're just proposing to delete the language.
Has there been an analysis done? Is there anybody left that this still affects, that we're taking a right away from them?
Well, by striking the language, we're allowing the use in the zoning district. And so if anything, we're giving more rights to property owners within the UMU.
Okay.
Any additional commissioner questions or discussion? I call the question for 9A, Building Trade Service Ordinance. Member Richardson.
I make a motion, we recommend approval of the ordinance relating to building trade services.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Member Riley,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Richardson,
Yes.
Member Perez,
Yes.
Member Childs,
Yes.
Member Aton,
Yes.
Secretary Grant,
Yes.
Chairwoman Spidel.
Yes. Unanimous. Let's move on to item 11A, the City Council Summary of Action. Is there any discussion concerning this?
I just want to point out
Yes, sir.
that council's action regarding the cottages, it was turned down on the vote of 3-2.
Thank you. Member Riley?
I'm sorry.
No comment? Okay. Do I have an approval for 11A, City Council Summary of Action? Okay. Moving right on. It is now 6:16. City Council Summary, whoop, we got two of those? Oh, misprint. Okay. Petitions and requests from the public present. Seeing none. City staff.
I just wanted to remind the commission of the upcoming launch. We're expecting some heavy traffic and lots of visitors. And so our police department has done a good job of providing the routes that the traffic will be directed. If you haven't seen it yet, please check out the website or the city's social media to see the maps.
That's
Can
for
you-
August 29th.
Thank you.
Okay, 29th. And is there a time frame, or do you anticipate
I think
shuttle
it's
type?
8:30 in the morning.
Oh, my gosh. I got to walk to work.
So they'll be here before the 29th.
Plan accordingly.
Probably
Yes.
a couple days at least.
There are no motel rooms available in Titusville
Excuse me, the Oaks is renting rooms.
at $400 a night.
$375 for a bargain. City attorney, comments?
No report, thanks.
Any commissioners have a report? Who said 6:22?
I did.
You're off. It's 6:17. I call for an adjournment. Thank you all. Appreciate it. I think this is a record.
Yeah, it
I think it is. Okay.
is. 42 was way off.
Thanks for watching the Titusville Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Coming up next, the Florida Channel, already in progress.